everyone, welcome to the show. I wanted to take a little bit of time today to talk about our tongues. So often we don't pay attention to the way that we say things or how we say things or what we say. A lot of times we're just reacting to the moment and we're just saying whatever the first thing is that comes to your mind. And a lot of times we don't realize the long-term ramifications of what we say. We just care about the right now. We don't care about how we hurt people. We don't care about anything other than getting whatever it is we have to say out. And sometimes that's a good thing, especially if you're trying to expose a wrong. But most of the time, we are just saying things to react to something that's been said to us. So Jesus talks about this, and Jesus says to the Pharisees in Matthew 15:11, what goes into someone's mouth does not defile them, but what comes out of their mouth is what defiles them, because that comes from the heart. Now, the backstory on this is that Jesus and his disciples were gathering leftovers on the threshing floor, some spare wheat, and that they were working on the Sabbath, and the Pharisees were condemning them for that. And so that leads on to this, although it comes about food and what we eat. What Jesus is saying is much, much more profound, as he's saying that the things that come out of our mouth is what defiles us. This also could be read into, in Jewish law, it's good or clean and unclean foods that you could eat, which later was done away with in Acts after Jesus' crucifixion. So we forget about a lot of things whenever we get into a fit of anger. And that's generally when we say the meanest things that we can think of. And a lot of times Christians are targeted by this. A lot of times people who are narcissistic come after Christians or befriend Christians. Why is that? Because generally Christians are more empathetic, more self-observing, more thoughtful in what we speak, because it's what we've been told to do, and that's how we've been told to act. And that gets taken advantage of a lot of times. A narcissist will say a myriad of things to get you to do what they want you to do, whether it come out in anger or it comes out in like they're playing the victim, or they're using your own Christianity against you. Recently I had something of the similar happen to me. I was not going to do something that could potentially damage my home life. And that's exactly what happened to me. Well, you're a Christian. You need to do other things. You need to do for everybody. And I think that that's a common misconception of Christians, is Christians still have lives, and just because they don't say give to every homeless person they see, or they don't just immediately run in front of any kind of bus that life throws at them, that somebody who doesn't have your best interests in mind might use that against you. For me, I follow the Bible. One of the things that I do in all of my decision making is I put my wife first. And that's because the Bible says that a man leaves his mother and father and becomes one with his spouse or his wife. And the same is true for a wife to a man. And this is because Jesus loved the church so much that he gave his life for the church. That goes unnoticed a lot. A lot of times, Christians are viewed as infinite givers, infinite doers. And that's not always the case. It's not always possible. Yet, Christians are the fall guy for a lot of things too, such as politics. If there's a presidential candidate, a congressperson, or anybody that's in politics that's a Christian, if they don't do exactly just so, or they do something that the masses do not agree with, maybe it's the right thing, but the masses have a different point of view, then they're a bad person, and it's because they're a Christian. If you're a Christian and you don't do what everybody thinks you could do by looking up a myriad of Bible verses to try to support a point and twist the Bible to meet their meaning or what they want you to do, then you're a bad Christian. This is just common practice. Most people have a narcissistic side to them. It doesn't matter if you're a full-blown narcissist or not. Everyone has a narcissistic side to them. But we have to remember that in the end, God leads us to what we need to do. If you find that somebody is using their words to control you, that's a red flag. If you find that somebody needs you to answer them immediately on a large decision and not allow you to consider the ramifications of the decision, that's a red flag. We have to be careful because Christians get gaslighted a lot. God is the fall person for anything and everything that goes wrong in the world. It's a convenient out rather than seeing things for what they are. It's easy to just blame God because it didn't go the way that a person thinks it should go. I've had my Christianity used against me a lot. If I'm not perfect or I do something that somebody doesn't understand, then I'm not a Christian or I'm not a good Christian or I'm selfish. But we all need to take shelter in God's Word. People will try to manipulate you using Christ. And quite frankly, they should be ashamed of themselves if they do. Because at the end of the day, we're all still living a life and trying to live it the best that we can. And as we get older and as our lives changes, our responsibility changes. So it's like anything. I don't know if any of you have taken fishing courses or whatnot where you're supposed to identify people trying to fish you to click on a link or whatever, anything to get your personal information so that they can steal money from you. If a person cannot wait and give you time to make a decision, that's a red flag. Just like in the lesson, that if it's urgent and it immediately needs to be done now, don't think, don't do anything, click the link, then that is a red flag that person doesn't have your interests in mind at all. that they don't care what happens to you. They don't care necessarily about you. They care about what you can do for them. Another thing, when people use bad speech, I'm guilty as anybody that if I'm triggered, I cuss. I'm not proud of it, but I'm working on it. But if a person is always having hateful speech, negative points of view, overly pessimistic, and I'm not talking about being discerning. I'm just talking about being very, very negative. And also someone who talks about others behind their back and says things that are half-truths. That's a red flag, because a lot of times that person is trying to manipulate you to have a certain kind of opinion. And that person I would bring into question if they talk about people all the time behind their back and they say things from their perspective. Another thing that I would bring into mind in people that can use I even say not just Christianity, but your humanity against you, is if they are always a victim. If everybody is just always doing something to them, they're always the person who gets used and abused. They are always the person that is doing everything. They're always the person that is having bad luck. That's really a red flag too, because we all know that can't possibly be true. Nobody is a victim 100% of the time. But it does mean that that person could make bad decisions, could invite improper people into their life. They could be doing bad hidden things that create calamity in their life, leading unfaithful lives, doing illicit substances, doing things that are just immoral, and it's coming back to bite them. And it's really still something they brought on themselves, but to the outside would make it look like that they just have the worst luck ever, or that nobody really truly appreciates them. And I would say that if you're in the position that you're trying to find a mate in life, that these would also be red flags. Generally, people that exude these qualities only care about themselves, and they're just working the system to try to get it to where you will cater to them, and they don't have to be accountable for their own actions because it's everybody else's fault. Somebody's always doing them wrong. We have to be aware of this. Narcissists really do feed on Christians. A lot of times they'll try to blend in, but they will sit there and say, I don't think that person's a Christian because of this. Oh, I don't think that person's a Christian because of this. Be wary of those people. Because the truth is, all Christians are not perfect. There is not a perfect Christian on this planet. And you need to be wary of how people portray things. You need to be weary of their motivations. You need to be weary of what their intentions are for you. Because generally it's to do everything to get anything and everything that you can provide out of you and then discard you when they're done. That's just how life works. There are good and bad people in this world. And I'm not saying that narcissists are necessarily bad people, but I am saying that somebody who has narcissistic tendencies will take advantage of you. They do not have your best interest in mind. And they don't care about how the things that they do or ask you to do affects your life. They just care about how it affects theirs. And I've seen a variety of this over the years. I've seen where I've taken on friends, and I didn't realize it, but it was just for the things that I could offer. Being a musician, I have, had musician friends that they didn't really care about me per se. They cared about the fact that I could contribute to help buy a certain thing, or that I possessed equipment that they wanted to use, or I possessed a talent that they wanted to use. Not just a couple years ago, a fellow musician had no respect for me. They just realized that I could mix and master, and they didn't have that ability, and that I had the knowledge of how to publish music. The bottom line was they really didn't care. Whenever the rubber met the road in that relationship, that's what they cared about. If I didn't do what they wanted, or I had questions about what they were wanting to do, or I couldn't commit the kind of funds that they felt needed to be committed, then they took a nasty turn. And they would put down everything about me as a musician, me as a person, put down playing abilities or writing abilities, anything to try to cut me. I've experienced that a lot as a musician. Unfortunately, most musicians, they think that everyone is going to make it. That's what they want to do, is they want to make it, and they will use anything and everyone they can to try to make it from the industry. A lot of times because they believe that will solve all their problems. I've had friends that only cared about wanting to do anything with me or being a friend whenever I was helping or participating in their interests. If I had an interest, it was never anything that we were going to have as friends. I always needed to participate in the things that they wanted to do. And when it aligns, it's great. But as you grow, those friendships generally fizzle out. But there are a lot of times whenever you can't do things. Like, for instance, with me, I'm married. And I have a household that I need to support. I just can't up and drop everything. And a lot of people forget about that. They only see their own interests and how things affect them. And they care very little, if at all, about the down the road for you. So you need to watch out for this. A true friend, a real friend, will want to be in your life no matter what the circumstances are. They're not going to care if you can physically do the things that they like to do. They will be around you because they genuinely want to be in your life. They genuinely care. They will genuinely offer an ear to listen when you're going through tough times. And you need to find these things in a spouse as well. So I guess you could say that this discussion is on our tongues, but it's, also about people who don't have our interests in mind in the friends we choose, or possibly the spouses that we may choose. We as Christians have to realize that our tongue is very, very powerful. The Bible talks quite a bit about it. If you were to read in Ephesians 4:29, it says, "Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen." See, this comes back to encircling yourself around people who want to build you up. But that is also something that you need to do too. You should be a person that builds people up, not tear them down. A person who truly listens, not just for the things that you want to say or wait to jump into the conversation so that you can talk about what you want to talk about, but to be a good person. Proverbs 18:21 says, "The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit." And that sounds kind of cryptic, but what happens is, the tongue is a destructive tool. Or a powerful tool. It can build people up, or it can tear people down. When I was in high school, I remember that I wasn't like a popular kid, really. I was just one of those middle-of-the-road kids. I didn't have a lot of friends, but the friends that I did have were good friends. In fact, one of them is still my friend to this day, 40 plus year friendship. But I remember one person in school I'd reconnected with on Facebook or whatnot, and they said, I don't know if you know this, but you just simply saying hi to me and being nice to me each day got me through a time whenever I wanted to kill myself. See, we don't realize how we affect people. We don't have to solve the world's problems. We just have to be kind. You don't have to give this great advice. You just have to be kind. Hello, a smile, a good demeanor. You may be touching somebody more than you ever realized because we don't know what other people are going through. James says in 3:5, likewise, the tongue is a small part of the body, but it makes a great boast. Consider what a great forest is set on fire by such a small spark. Now think about that. That's true. An ember off of a campfire can cause a forest fire. We have to guard our tongues. It has great power to heal and to destroy. My mom always said, if you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say anything at all. And I'm pretty sure that's similar advice that most of us have gotten. So be mindful of your words as you speak to people, because you really don't know. Like I said, you don't know the ramifications. Colossians 4:6 says, let your conversations always be full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone. This is what I was saying about if somebody's pressing you, a narcissist, and not giving you the chance to think or do research if you need to. That's, if it's pressing and you're pushing, I need an answer now and whatever, and you can't respect that person or they can't respect you, there's a problem. If you're the person doing it, then you need to back off. You need to consider yourself and what damage you could be causing. And if you're the person who is trying to think, then that's a person that you need to back away from, or at least back away from the situation. Proverbs 12:18 says, the words of the reckless pierce like a sword, but the tongue of the wise bring healing. I hope that you're seeing like this pattern here, is that our tongue is so powerful, and we need to care for it. We need to mind it. We need to be good stewards of our tongue, because it's such a damaging or healing thing. I'm guilty as anybody to where my tongue has gotten away from me. I am a person that if I'm triggered, I can become a steamroller, and that's not good. And I want to share that with you, because I hope that whenever you're minding your own tongue, that you're thinking of the same things. I bring up narcissists because generally narcissistic people tear you down. So you need to identify them. You need to know how to properly deal with them. And to be honest with you, less is more. Keep things on a very straight path. Be direct, be simple, be short. If a person is using your own tongue against you, like in the sense of that you're telling them something they don't want to hear, you have to use your mind. People will generally get mad at first, or they'll play the victim, or they will say something to try to keep you emotionally off balanced. these are things that you have to watch out for as well as a Christian, because these are generally people that just want to take advantage of you. And if you're a person that's doing these things, then you're a person that needs to get into the Bible and see how you can improve. And generally, it's something that you need to work on to improve your mind. That you have to be more secure in yourself. We should be looking to God for our security, not to other people. Generally, people who are narcissistic are insecure people. They have an insecurity, they have a God-shaped hole they're trying to fill. This is not saying that they are not Christians, but this is saying that there is something that's making them insecure. And the thing about it is you can't heal this. They have to heal that on their own. They have to go to God in prayer. And they have to read their Bible and try to understand that not everything is going to go the way you want it in life. You go to God to get through it. And once you're done, or not say done, but once you have reached that point, you have a sense of peace in everything that you do. Because God gives it to you. The Comforter gives it to you. Anyway, I hope you all know that I love and really just putting this out there, because it's been done to me. I'm sure it's been done to you. But I really don't know how many sermons focus on it, or how many lessons are on it, or people really dive into what all the Bible says about our speech. But as Christians, we have to be mindful of our side. Just because you say no doesn't make you a bad person. Just because you set boundaries doesn't make you a bad person. Just because you cannot sacrifice your livelihood or your family relationships, or you're not able, or you have to put your spouse first, that doesn't make you a bad person. Lots of people will try to use these things against you because they don't really care in the end of the day about your life. They only care about theirs. They only care about the things that they want to happen, that they feel is needed. I love you all, and I pray for each and every one of you. If you leave comments, I see them. I hope that this finds you and this enriches your life.